The same day I decided to make this commentary, I found out that FPSRussia's manager, Keith Ratliff, died of a single gunshot wound to the head. Homicide is likely the cause. I offer my sincere condolences and hope for the best for FPSRussia's channel. FPSRussia is the largest gun and weapon demo channel on YouTube. This is going to cause much turmoil in the YouTube community, regardless of perspectives on gun rights. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to a commentary about the psychology of guns in general. If you haven't already seen my earlier commentary about video games and violent behavior, clicking on the picture-in-picture will open the commentary in a new window. That topic relates well to today's video. This gameplay is Sharpshooter, very relevant because it showcases a lot of guns. A quick note about what this commentary is not about. This is not a political discussion about the pros and cons of gun ownership and a potential gun ban, but I will be coming back to that topic in a later video. Guns are in the news a lot recently, since we have suffered so many mass shootings in 2012. Today's commentary is about the morality of gun violence and the development of a gun culture in the United States. First, let's take a look at the psychology of why guns are used so prominently in violent crime. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, 66.9% of all homicides in the United States are caused by a firearm. Guns are undoubtedly the weapon of choice for murder. It is both physically and mentally easy to kill using a gun. A 5'4" woman can kill a 6'5" man easily using a gun in a head-on confrontation, but it's significantly harder for her to do so using a melee weapon like a knife. I really don't have to explain the physical advantage of having a gun that can kill at a long distance versus a weapon you have to be within arm's reach to effectively use. The psychological advantage to using a gun is seen when we look at moral dilemmas. I'm going to reference a well-used tool in teaching morality, the trolley problem. If there are 5 people working on a train track with a trolley barreling down toward them, do you push someone who is on an above walkway to stop the trolley, killing the one person but saving the 5? The utilitarian, philosophically minded individual will push the person, but the percentage of people who would push the person will go up drastically if you are not next to the person, but are instead in a separate control room and can push a button to drop the person onto the track. See where I'm going there? The same outcome happens. One person dies to save the 5, but the mechanism is much different. You are far less likely to want to basically kill someone if you have physical closeness to them and have contact with them than if you are far away and are using some other complicated mechanism. The same principle applies to guns. It takes a lot of conviction to look at someone be 1 foot away from them then physically thrust a knife into them. But with guns you have a lot more physical and mental distance away from your victim. You really don't need to physically touch the person, and the mechanism for gun activation is a lot more complicated. Like, you don't really need to physically encode the firing pin striking the cartridge, which ignites the primer, causing a chemical reaction, which then uses its energy to propel the bullet forward into your victim. Just like you wouldn't encode all the mechanisms of the button activating the trapdoor to drop the man onto the tracks. It's easier to dehumanize someone if you want to use a gun on them than if you want to use a melee weapon. Just because you're so morally distant from the victim, killing with a gun has a lower thought into action threshold. This probably doesn't apply to serial killers or prospective mass murderers because research has shown that they don't feel remorse or empathy for their victims. But for every other prospective criminal, having guns around makes it a lot easier to decide to harm another individual. The second topic in my commentary is why guns are so prominent in American culture. An obvious point is that the Second Amendment guarantees individuals the right to bear arms. This is an enumeration of an individual right, something that shouldn't be tampered with. Also, gun advocates see individual ownership of firearms as a tool against oppression or tyranny. What's being argued right now in early 2013 is that some see government intervention in gun ownership as tyrannical and oppressive. From my own subjective viewpoint, I think this is stupid. A few armed civilians can't stop an oppressive government that really wants to be oppressive. If the government really wanted to intervene and take over or enact martial law or something, civilian firearm ownership isn't going to do anything against an organized armed military. Historically, guns are associated with American advancement and independence. Some of the earliest rifled muskets were developed in colonial America and were used successfully against the British during the American Revolution by riflemen, essentially the world's first snipers. American Western advancement was also symbolized by guns, which got stronger and more accurate with the Industrial Revolution. Not to mention that guns were featured as hunting implements and used in sport shooting. But the above segment talks mostly about the social and political aspects of the gun culture. Let's talk more about psychology behind such a development. We all see a lot of guns growing up. Violent media is unavoidable. As kids, especially boys, we've all probably played with toy guns and violent video games growing up. What makes the gun such a fascination? It's not just the gun or the violence that is so compelling, it's how much agency and power over another individual a gun gives you. You have so much more control over others and your own situation with a weapon. Especially when you are young, you are just so much more smaller than everyone else. Having a gun changes that. A gun is the ultimate symbol of power in today's society. Real policemen and soldiers carry them. Fictional action stars are seldom seen without them. Guns make you feel older. When growing up, you also want to test societal norms and see where you fit in. You want to determine the balance of what works and what doesn't. Roleplay is important for child development. Take the game I'm playing for example. We take turns alternating as the terrorists and the good guys. This is nothing but an extension of playing cops and robbers when we were children. This fascination with guns can extend into adulthood. People like to shoot stuff, that's a given. It's fun to test your coordination and hitting targets at long range. We never do lose our agency drive though. Some people get their agency fix from things like video games, success in their jobs, and success with the opposite gender. Gun owners, in addition to some combination of the above, like to get some additional agency fix from their guns. So anyways guys, I'll summarize. First, I'll wish my sincere condolences again to FPSRussia and every YouTuber that is associated with them, every YouTuber that has worked closely with them. I hope this community recovers from this tragedy, and I hope you've enjoyed my commentary about the psychology of guns. I'll summarize by saying that there are numerous psychological influences on why guns are so common in violent crime and common in our culture. The legality of gun ownership perpetuates these influences though. If you know of someone who is interested in these topics, share this video with them. I work really hard on this commentary, so be sure to give this video a like rating. Leave a comment if you have any additional input. Have a great day guys and be safe.